When my girlfriend was at her lowest, I broke up with her. Years later, after she found success and fame, she used every means possible to marry me. Everyone said I was her one true love, her most treasured husband. But in reality, every night she brought a different man home, shattering my heart and turning me into a laughingstock. I never fought back. I never cried or argued. I simply moved into the study, quietly staying out of her way. She hated that. One night, furious, she kissed me roughly and whispered, "Aren't you jealous?" What she didn't know was that I was sick. While she spent each day trying to hurt me, I was silently counting down how many days I had left to live. In the third year of our marriage, my wife, Claire, started keeping a young, handsome college student. His name was Ryan. He was tall, good-looking, and exactly Claire's type. She kept him around for over 6 months, longer than any of the others. My friends warned me to be careful. They said Claire seemed genuinely attached to Ryan. The first time I met him was on my birthday. That morning, I'd woken up with a nosebleed that wouldn't stop. At the hospital, the doctor told me I probably wouldn't live past spring next year. I nodded calmly and said, "That's fine." I wasn't afraid of dying. I just didn't want it to hurt. There was an expensive medication that could ease the pain, but I didn't have enough money to afford it. So, I went to Claire's office to ask for help. That's where I ran into Ryan. He had just graduated and was working as Claire's assistant. Claire was in a meeting, so I sat in the lobby to wait. Ryan kept glancing at me, then leaned over to whisper to his coworkers, "So, that's the husband? He looks awful, so skinny and sickly, like he's on his deathbed." He laughed and added, "People say I look like him, but I don't see it. I'm way better looking." I caught my reflection in the glossy glass wall. Messy hair, a puffy coat that made me look even frilier. He wasn't wrong. I wasn't much to look at, just a man waiting to die. A co-worker nudged him and whispered, "Don't underestimate him. If he cleaned up, you wouldn't even compare. And don't forget, Claire loves him. If you piss him off, she'll destroy you." Ryan wasn't convinced. He rolled his eyes and smirked. He brought me a cup of tea and asked mockingly, "So, Mr. Baker, why is Claire making you wait so long? It's weird, whenever I stop by, no matter how busy she is, she always makes time for me. She says I'm her priority." He smiled smugly, and for a moment, I saw a bit of my younger self in him. I thought about it. Claire did treat Ryan differently. She'd had countless lovers over the years, using them as pawns in her game to provoke me. Every night, she brought home someone new, testing my limits. But she never kept them around for long. A day or two, maybe a week. She always got bored quickly. Ryan, though, was different. She spoiled him. She took him out to dinner, shopping, and movies. They acted like an ordinary, happy couple. She gave him money, but she also gave him affection. I looked at him and smiled gently. If you're so important to her, why settle for being her dirty little secret? You should convince her to divorce me and marry you instead. Ryan's expression darkened instantly. He glared at me, his voice shaking with anger. "You're the one who's useless here. You're nothing but a kept man. You only got to her first. But now? You're old, you're ugly. What could you possibly offer her?" His co-worker hurried over, pulling him away, clearly worried I'd be upset. But I wasn't. I'd promised myself long ago that I wouldn't get angry because of Claire. I wouldn't feel sad because of her. And I definitely wouldn't stoop to competing with her lovers. She wasn't worth it. Ryan was pulled back by a co-worker, but he lost his balance, fell to the ground, and shattered the teacup in his hand. Blood poured from the deep cut on his palm, pooling on the floor. Through the glass of the conference room, Claire saw what had happened. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, she threw down her papers, pushed the door open, and hurried over to Ryan. She grabbed his hand with visible distress, frowning as she examined his injury. Her voice was cold as she asked, "Who did this to him?" The co-worker who had tried to help Ryan stepped back in fear, their face pale. I let out a dry laugh. "It was me. And honestly, he deserved it." Ryan gritted his teeth and glared at me, then shouted, "Yeah, I deserved it. I fell for someone I shouldn't have. I'm the one being called a kept man, a plaything." "But Claire," he said, looking into her eyes with a mix of defiance and passion, "as long as you love me, I'll stay by your side forever. No one can take me away from you." The words were absurd, but the way he said them, so firm, so sincere, made him seem almost brave. Claire couldn't help but laugh. She reached out to ruffle his hair and said softly, "Don't be mad. You're going to make me worry." She treated him differently. That much was obvious. I lowered my gaze, no longer interested in the scene. Instead, I calmly said to Claire, "For my birthday this year, I want $50,000. It was funny, really. We were married, yet we didn't even have each other's phone numbers. The only time I reached out to her was when I needed money. Before we got married, we had an agreement. She wanted me, and I wanted her money. Claire had always hated how materialistic I was. But in the past, no matter how much I asked for, she would always give it to me without hesitation. This time, though, she looked at me with a cold smile and said slowly, "You can have the money. But, Isaac, first, lower your proud head and apologize to Ryan." Claire was willing to pay $50,000 to buy back my dignity and give it to Ryan in the form of an apology. It was the first time she had used money to humiliate me for the sake of another man. I clenched my fists and forced a laugh, holding back the sudden wave of pain that surged through my body. I turned and walked away. I didn't need the money anymore. For the first time, I was curious about Claire. If one day she found out that this money could have given me more time to live, if she knew how much I'd suffered before I died, what kind of expression would she have then? I went home alone, curling up in bed in pain, drenched in a cold sweat. After taking a sleeping pill, I told myself if I fall asleep, it won't hurt anymore. Half asleep, I dreamed of when I was 20 years old. Claire was dirt poor back then, but she loved me deeply. That year, on my birthday, I walked past a cafe and saw a couple sitting by the window. The boy was holding a white cake. It looked delicate, delicious, and expensive. I still remember the snow falling heavily that day. I scooped up a mound of snow, turned to Claire and grinned. "Claire, doesn't this look like a cake?" She bit her lip, pulled me into her arms, and held me tight. She didn't let me see the tears welling up in her eyes. 3 days later, she showed up outside my dorm with a cake. When I saw the frostbite on her fingers, my eyes turned red with anger. Through gritted teeth, I told her, "Claire, your hands are meant for reading and writing, not for ruining just to make me happy." I said I didn't deserve such an expensive cake. She frowned and immediately shot back, "Isaac, you're the best person in the world. You deserve all the good things it has to offer." That day, I ate the entire cake through tears. I don't even remember what it tasted like anymore. I just know that after that, I never had a cake that tasted better. I slept for a long time. Half conscious, I heard my phone ringing. When I picked it up, Claire's voice came through. "Isaac," she said. I smiled faintly, my voice soft as I replied, "Claire, it's snowing. I want cake." Before she could respond, I turned over and fell back into a deep sleep. I slept until the middle of the night when hunger woke me up. I went to the kitchen to find something to eat, only to realize Claire had come back. She had bought Ryan a big house. They lived there together. He cooked for her, made her laugh, and waited for her to come home. Claire seemed happy. She hadn't been back here in a long time. She leaned lazily against the floor-to-ceiling window, her eyes fixed on me. I kept my head down and walked past her, only for her to grab my arm. Frowning, she asked softly, "Why have you lost so much weight?" Her tone was gentle, almost like she still cared about me. For a moment, I froze before yanking my arm away and snapping, "Claire, what's wrong with you now?" She glanced at her empty hand, her face slowly turning cold. It wasn't until I reached the dining table and saw a cake covered in candles that I realized the phone call hadn't been a dream. I'd said I wanted cake, and Claire had bought one. What was this? A peace offering? But I was dying. I didn't need a cake, or her anymore. Grabbing the cake, I threw it straight into the trash. Claire frowned, then shoved me against the wall, her voice sharp. "Isaac, are you messing with me?" I smiled, unbothered. "Yeah, Claire, I'm messing with you. So what?" "I said I wanted cake, and you went and bought one. God, you're just as pathetic as you used to be." I twisted the knife deliberately, watching her expression grow colder by the second. Her face darkened completely as she grabbed my collar and dragged me into the bedroom. She shoved me down onto the bed, her movements rough and unrestrained. Claire was furious. Her lips crashed onto mine, hard enough to split the corner of my mouth. I shoved her off, my voice icy. "Don't touch me, Claire. You disgust me." But she lunged at me again, biting down on my neck. The sharp pain made me suck in a breath. Her voice was low and harsh against my ear. "Isaac, would it kill you to give in to me for once? Do you even know how long I've waited for you to come to me? How many years I've waited for you to just talk to me? Do you know how happy I was when you said you wanted cake? And then you turn around and treat me like a joke?" She pulled back, her eyes red and brimming with tears, staring at me as if waiting for an answer. My own eyes stung as I glared back at her. The room was dim and suffocating, and neither of us said a word. Claire leaned in closer, her lips just inches from mine when her phone suddenly rang. It was Ryan. She paused, then answered it. I could hear Ryan's voice, tearful and trembling. "Claire, are you really leaving me for him? You love me. I know you do. I'm at a bar right now. I've had a lot to drink, and some woman started talking to me. I hate her. Please come get me. Take me home, Claire. Please." Claire said nothing at first. She just stared at me, her lips curling into a cold, mocking smile. Then she spoke, her voice soft but commanding. Isaac begged me. Begged me to stay, and I won't leave. She must have forgotten. A long time ago, I'd already begged her. I'd swallowed my pride and asked, Claire, can we just sit down and talk calmly? Can we stop fighting? Can't we just be happy together? Can you treat me better? I remember how she had stared at me back then, her gaze cold as ice. And she'd smiled as she said, Isaac, you don't deserve it. Those words had stayed with me ever since, lodged deep in my heart. And now, finally, I could say them back to her. Grabbing her collar, I looked her dead in the eye and said, slowly and deliberately, Claire, you don't deserve it. She froze for a moment, then let out a bitter laugh. Raising the phone to her ear, she said to Ryan, I'm coming to get you. Without another glance at me, she stood up, slammed the door, and walked out. The next day, photos of Claire fighting another woman over Ryan spread through our social circles like wildfire. It was the first time one of her affairs had turned into such a public spectacle. Reporters were waiting outside her house. As I walked out, they swarmed me, bombarding me with questions. Claire's company had grown rapidly over the past few years, and she was a rising name in Westbridge. Not only was she wealthy, but she was also stunningly beautiful, frequently trending online. One young reporter asked, Mr. Brooks, do you have any comments on what happened between Claire and Ryan? I didn't stop walking. Without looking back, I replied, one's a cheating wife, and the other's the kind of man who knowingly gets involved with one. What do you want me to say? The reporter followed me, persistent. But I heard that when Claire was at her lowest, you dumped her for money. Then, when she became successful, you guilt-tripped her into marrying you. Now that she's found true love with Ryan, who's clearly a better match, you're clinging to the title of her husband and calling him a homewrecker. Don't you think you're the real problem here? I stopped, turned around, and gave him a cold smile. Grabbing the badge hanging around his neck, I read his name and flipped it over. On the back, there was a student ID from Hillside University. Calmly, I asked, You're Ryan's friend, aren't you? Everyone in these circles knows Claire did whatever it took to marry me. You think I wanted to marry her? Or are you here on his behalf, trying to sling mud at me so your buddy can successfully take my place? The reporter's face paled. He snatched his badge back and stammered, I am Ryan's friend, but I'm a journalist. Everything I say is fair and objective. If you really didn't want to marry her, he continued, regaining his composure, then why haven't you divorced her now that she's fallen for someone else? I smirked, about to respond, but then I felt a familiar warmth trickling from my nose. Blood. Someone sneered, Mr. Brooks keeps saying he doesn't care, that he was forced into this marriage, but look at him, so stressed out he's giving himself nosebleeds. I wiped the blood from my lips with my finger and said evenly, I'm not stressed. I'm sick. Dying, actually. Nosebleeds are common these days. The crowd fell silent. The mocking smiles disappeared. Only the young reporter kept talking. Oh, come on. Quit the act. A nosebleed makes you a dying man now. You're just trying to play the sympathy card. I can't stand guys like you, always playing the victim, using every dirty trick in the book. You make us all look bad. With that, he turned and walked away. Something about his retreating figure reminded me of Ryan. Both left the same sour taste in my mouth. The video of me surrounded by reporters quickly made its way onto trending news. Claire responded publicly later that day, saying, I will never divorce my husband. Please stop bothering him. That same afternoon, Ryan's journalist friend was fired. Online, though, the backlash against me only grew. This guy is disgusting. If he didn't want to marry her, why did he? No one held a gun to his head. And he claims to be her first love? Please. He's just a gold digger. Claire defends him so much, I'm jealous. He dumped her for money back then, and now he's sticking around for the same reason. All this talk about not wanting the marriage is just him playing the victim. Yeah, he's trying to act noble while still reaping all the benefits. Hypocrite. Amid the hate, one comment stood out. Why don't you all shut your mouths? If you don't know the truth, stop talking. People immediately swarmed that account, demanding to know the truth. The truth was as cliché as it gets. That year, my mom was diagnosed with a terminal illness. The doctors said it was genetic. Not only was I doomed to eventually face the same fate, but if I ever had kids, they were likely to inherit it, too. The day my mom fell ill, she bled so much from her nose that the floor was covered in red. She lost so much blood that she slipped into a coma for 3 days. When she woke up, the first thing she said was, Isaac, you need to break up with Claire. I stared at her, dumbfounded, and whispered, Mom, she won't care about that. I wasn't sure if I was trying to convince her or myself. My mom gently held my hand, nodded, and said, I know. She's a good girl. She paused, then smiled faintly. You two have been together since high school. Every morning, she'd wait for you at the corner with her bike. Did you think I didn't notice? I remember once, she bought you a sandwich for breakfast. It cost all her bucks. You were so clueless and greedy. She lied and said she'd already eaten. And you believed her, happily devouring the sandwich while she went hungry. She didn't have much back then. Her parents were divorced, and she was practically an orphan. That 12 bucks might have been her entire day's budget, and she didn't even hesitate to spend it on you. I thought to myself, my son is lucky to have found someone so good. She's smart, kind, and wonderful in every way. But because she's so good, I can't let her waste her life on you. That same year, Claire's grandmother fell ill and was hospitalized. They were incredibly close. Her grandmother had raised her. Claire was already overwhelmed trying to pay for the medical bills. My mom said women's hearts are fragile. If Claire lost her grandmother and me, it would destroy her. I clenched my fists, and after a long silence, I whispered, "Mom, I can't let her go." Those words broke me. Tears poured down my face. I can't let her go. Even 10 years later, thinking about it still makes my chest ache. I bought my mom's favorite persimmons and planned to visit her grave one last time. I was dying. I needed to tell her that I wouldn't be coming back anymore. Before heading to the cemetery, I decided to stop by Claire's office to retrieve something. When my mom was alive, she adored Claire. That was back when she was still healthy, and Claire and I were deeply in love. One year, my mom visited a temple and brought back 2 porcelain dolls for good luck. Inside the boy doll, she tucked my birth date. Inside the girl doll, she tucked Claire's. They were supposed to protect us, keep us healthy, and ensure that we'd always stay together. My mom asked me to give Claire her doll, but Claire didn't want the one meant for her. She insisted on taking mine instead. She said the boy doll reminded her of me. Awkward and a little goofy, but endearing. She said looking at it felt like looking at me. She liked seeing me. To this day, that doll had sat on Claire's desk at work. I was worried that after I died, Claire would toss it in the trash like it was nothing. It was something my mom had given me. I needed to take it back and leave it at her grave, so it could stay with her. When I arrived at Claire's office, she was watching the video of me from that morning, the one where I was bleeding from my nose, casually mentioning that I was dying. When she noticed me, she set her phone aside without saying a word. I glanced at her desk and saw that the spot where the doll used to sit was empty. Frowning, I asked, "Where's my doll?" Claire's gaze followed mine to the empty spot on the desk. She looked bored, almost irritated by the triviality of the question. "Ryan liked it," she said, flipping through. My blood ran cold. That doll wasn't just vintage. It was the last thing my mother held before she lost C. I didn't say a word to Claire. I turned and walked out of her office, ignoring her sharp comment. I found Ryan in the open-plan workspace. He was surrounded by a few sycophants, spinning the porcelain doll on his desk like a dreidel. The delicate painted face of the boy, "Hey, careful with that," one intern giggled. "Isn't that Mr. Baker's?" Ryan scoffed. "Who cares?" Claire gave. He gave the doll a hard flick. It wobbled dangerously close to the edge. I walked up to the desk, my hand trembling as I reached for it. "Don't touch it," I rasped. Ryan looked up, startled, then smirked. He slammed his hand down over the doll. "Give it to me, Ryan. Make me." He leaned back, crossing his arms. Claire gave it to me. "It's mine." Just like the car. I looked at him, really looked at him. He was young, vibrant, and bursting with life. He had decades ahead of him. I had weeks. "You can have the money." Ryan's eyes narrowed. He sensed the genuine desperation in my voice, and like a predator, he enjoyed the scent of blood. He picked up the doll and dangled it over the hard tile floor. "Oops," he whispered. He let go. I didn't think. I threw myself forward. My knees slammed in. The impact jarred my ribs. A sharp, blinding pain exploded in my chest. I curled up, coughing violently. "Jesus, what a drama queen." Ryan laughed, standing up. "It's just a toy." He stopped laughing when he saw the blood. It wasn't a nosebleed this time. The room went silent. "Isaac." The voice was Claire's. She stood at the entrance. Oh. She didn't run to Ryan this time. She sprinted. "Isaac? Isaac, look at me." Her hands hovered over me, afraid to. I looked up at her. My vision was blurring, swimming in a haze of gray. I clutched the doll tighter. It was stained R. "I got it," I whispered, smiling through the metallic taste in my mouth. "It didn't break, Mom. It didn't break." "Isaac, stop talking." Claire's voice cracked. "I told you," I murmured, my eyes sliding shut. "I told you I was sick." "No. No, you're lying. You're always lying to get money." Her voice was high, bordering on hysteria. "Open your eyes. Isaac Baker. I command you to open your eyes." The last thing I heard when I woke up, the smell. I tried to sit up, but my body felt like lead. "Don't move." Claire was sitting in the corner armchair. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. Her hair was messy, her makeup gone. She looked like the old Claire. The one who used to stay up all night studying for exams, She stood up and walked to the bed, holding a thick file. Her hands were trembling. "The doctor gave me this," she said. Her voice was flat, devoid of emotion. "Acute myeloid leukemia. Secondary to a genetic disorder. Advanced stage." I stared at the ceiling. Okay. She slammed the file onto the bedside table. "You say okay?" The doctor. "I tried," I said hoarsely. "Yesterday. And the day before. You asked if I was jealous. You asked if I wanted money." "I thought you were lying," she shouted, tears finally spilling over. "I thought it was another trick. I thought you were manipulating me like you always do." "I never manipulated you, Claire. You left me." She grabbed the lapels of my hospital gown. "When we were 22, you looked me in the eye and said I was poor and you wanted a rich woman. You broke my heart into a million pieces so you could go chase money. And then you came back begging for marriage only when I got rich. How is that not manipulation?" I looked at her, exhausted. I didn't have the energy to explain it again. She wouldn't believe me anyway. "Sure," I whispered. "I'm a gold digger. You were right. So just let me die, Claire. You win. You proved your point." She froze. Her grip loosened. She stared at me, searching for the deceit, for the spark of greed. But all she found was resignation. The doctor said. She choked on a sob. "He said you have maybe 3 weeks. Maybe less." "That's enough time," I said. "I need to go to the cemetery. I need to give the doll to Mom." "You're not going anywhere." She wiped her face aggressively. "I'm hiring the best specialists. We're going to fly to Switzerland. There's a new treatment." "I don't have the money, Claire." "I have the money," she screamed. "I have millions. I can buy the hospital." "It doesn't work like that." I closed my eyes. "Money can't fix this. It couldn't save my mom, and it won't save me." She stood there, breathing heavily, her world of control crumbling around her. For the first time in years, her money was useless. "Get out, Claire," I said softly. "I want to sleep." She didn't leave. She sat back down in the chair and watched me. She watched me all night. 2 days later, Ryan showed up. I was awake, staring out the window at the gray sky. Claire had gone to speak with a specialist she had flown in from Germany. Ryan entered the room looking sheepish, holding a fruit basket. He didn't look arrogant anymore. He looked terrified. "Claire told me to come," he muttered, placing the basket on the table. "She said if I didn't apologize, she'd blacklist me from every industry in the state." I chuckled. It hurt my chest. "Sounds like her." "I didn't know you were actually sick," Ryan said, shifting his weight. I mean, everyone said you were just a leech." "I am a leech," I said. "I've been living off her money for 3 years." "Yeah, but..." Ryan frowned. "I saw the news. The stuff online. People are digging into your past. Let them talk." "No, I mean..." Ryan hesitated. He pulled a folded piece of paper from his pocket. "I found this. In the old archives. I was trying to find dirt on you to show Claire, to make her divorce you faster." He handed me the paper. It was a receipt from a pawn shop, dated 7 years ago. "You pawned a Rolex," Ryan said. "And a diamond necklace." I looked at the receipt. "Yeah. So?" "Those were Claire's," Ryan said. I checked the dates. That was the week her grandmother had that surgery. The experimental one that saved her life. He looked at me, his eyes wide. "Claire told me she paid for that surgery with a grant she won. But I checked the university records. She didn't win the grant until 2 months later." Ryan swallowed hard. "You stole her jewelry to pay for her grandmother's surgery? And then you broke up with her so she wouldn't know you were the one who paid for it? Because she was too proud to take money from you." I crumpled the paper in my hand. "Get out, Ryan." "Why didn't you tell her?" Ryan asked, his voice rising. "She hates you because she thinks you left her when she was broke. She thinks you abandoned her when she needed you most." "It doesn't matter," I said. "She was happy. She had the drive to succeed because she hated me. If she knew the truth, she would have felt guilty. Guilt weighs you down. Hate makes you climb." "You're insane," Ryan whispered. "You actually love her." The door clicked open. Claire stood there. She had been standing there for a while. Her face was unreadable. She walked into the room, walked right past Ryan, and took the crumpled paper from my hand. She smoothed it out. She looked at the date. She looked at the items. "Grandma's surgery cost $40,000, she whispered. "I woke up one morning, and the hospital bill was paid. The nurse said an anonymous donor covered it." She looked at me. Her eyes were terrifyingly wide. "My necklace went missing that week. You told me I lost it because I was careless. You yelled at me. You called me irresponsible. I did, I said. And then you broke up with me 3 days later. You said you found a girl who could actually take care of her things. She started to shake. A deep, guttural sound began to form in her throat. Isaac. She fell to her knees by the bed again. Isaac, what did you do? I did what I had to do, I said, my voice steady. Your mom died when you were young. Your dad left. Your grandma was all you had. If she died, you would have collapsed. You needed her.
You didn't need me.
But I hated you, she screamed, grabbing my hand and pressing it to her wet face. I spent 7 years hating you. I built my entire empire just to prove you wrong. I married you just to torture you. I treated you like a dog. I know, I said gently. I reached out and touched her hair. It was soft. But look at you, Claire. You're the CEO of a major company. You're strong. You're successful. You didn't need me holding you back. I wasted it, she sobbed, her head resting on the mattress. I wasted all our time. We could have been happy. We could have been together. Ryan quietly slipped out of the room, closing the door on a grief that was too heavy for him to witness. The next week was a blur of pain and clarity. Claire stopped going to the office. She moved into the hospital room. She slept on the uncomfortable cot. She fed me. She wiped my face. She fired Ryan, not with malice, but with indifference. He simply ceased to exist in her world. She tried to talk about the future, about treatments, but I stopped her. I want to go home, I said one evening. To the villa? She asked.
No.
To our old apartment. The one near the university. She bought the building the next morning. We moved back into that small, drafty apartment. She filled it with heaters and soft blankets. She tried to cook, burning eggs and toast, and for the first time in years we laughed. But I was fading. I could feel the tether snapping, strand by strand. On the third night in the apartment, it started to snow. I was lying on the sofa, wrapped in 3 blankets, watching the flakes drift past the window under the street lamp. Claire, I whispered. She was instantly at my side. I'm here. Do you need pain meds?
No.
I want cake. She froze. Her eyes filled with tears, remembering the phone call from weeks ago, the cake she had bought and I had thrown away. I'll get it, she said, scrambling up. I'll go to the bakery. The one you like. The expensive one. It's closed, Claire. It's 2 a.m. I'll buy the bakery. I'll wake them up. Claire, I grabbed her wrist. My grip was weak, like a child's. Sit down. She sat, trembling. Do you remember the snow? I asked. When we were 20? I remember, she wept. You made a snow cake. You were so happy. I wasn't happy because of the snow, I said softly. I was happy because you were there holding me. I reached into my pocket or tried to. It was too hard. Claire reached in for me. She pulled out the porcelain boy doll. Take it, I said. She held the doll, her tears falling onto its painted face. Put it with the girl doll, I said. Mom said, if they're together, we're safe. Claire ran to her bag and pulled out the girl doll. She had kept it. All these years, through the hate and the affairs and the cruelty, she had kept the matching doll in her purse. She placed them together on the coffee table, holding hands. Isaac, she whispered, leaning over me. I love you. I never stopped. I'm so sorry. Please, God, I'm so sorry. It's okay, I breathed. The pain was fading now, replaced by a cold numbness that started in my toes and worked its way up. Claire? I'm here, baby. I'm right here. The $50,000, I mumbled, my mind drifting. I wanted it for the pain meds. So I wouldn't hurt when you looked at me. I know, she sobbed, kissing my forehead, my cheeks, my lips. I know. Don't be mad at Ryan, I said. My vision narrowed to a pinpoint of light. He's just a kid. I don't care about him. Just stay with me. Please, Isaac. It's finally spring, I whispered, though it was snowing outside. I saw my mom standing in the corner of the room, holding a basket of persimmons. She looked healthy. She was smiling. Claire, I said, my voice barely a breath. The cake tasted sweet. And then the pain stopped completely. 3 months later, the headline on the business magazine read, Claire Brooks, the Iron CEO's vulnerable new era. Claire sat in her office. The room was different now. The cold, modern glass furniture was gone, replaced by warm wood and soft lighting. On her desk, encased in a glass box, sat 2 porcelain dolls. Ryan had tried to give an interview to a tabloid, claiming he was the victim of a toxic marriage. Claire didn't even sue him. She simply released the text messages, the bank transfers, and the video of him mocking a dying man. The public devoured him. He had to move states to find a job waiting tables. But Claire didn't care about revenge anymore. She picked up her pen. She was signing a check for the Isaac Baker Foundation. It was a fund dedicated to providing pain management medication for terminal patients who couldn't afford it. She checked the amount. $50 million. She put the pen down and turned to the window. It was raining a soft spring shower. She touched the glass, her reflection staring back. She looked older, tired, but softer. Are you jealous? She whispered to the empty room, a sad smile playing on her lips. She waited, half expecting a voice to answer. But there was only the rain. She opened the drawer of her desk. Inside was a diary she had found under Isaac's pillow after he passed. She opened it to the last entry, written in shaky, barely legible handwriting. If she ever reads this, I hope she knows. I didn't stay in the study, because I was hiding. I stayed there, because it was the only place I could hear her laugh in the other room without her seeing me cry. I never wanted to be her husband. I just wanted to be her memory. If I leave, she can find someone better. But if I stay, I'll only be a tragedy. I love her too much to be her tragedy. But I'm selfish. I stayed.
I'm sorry, Claire.
Claire closed the book and pressed it to her heart. You were never a tragedy, Isaac, she whispered into the silence. You were my only truth. She stood up, grabbed her coat, and walked out. She had a date. She drove to the cemetery on the hill. The grass was green, lush with the spring rain. She sat down on the wet grass in front of the headstone. It was simple, Isaac Baker. Beloved husband. She opened the box she had brought with her. Inside was a white cake, delicate and expensive. She cut a slice and placed it on the stone. Then she took a fork and took a bite herself. It tasted like tears and snow. Happy birthday, Isaac, she said, looking up at the gray sky. For a moment, the wind shifted, brushing against her cheek like a cold, gentle hand. Claire closed her eyes and leaned into the touch, finally, after all these years, at peace.